Ladies and gentlemen, I told you at the top of the show we had a great lineup, and our next presenter is no exception. He was in the fire service for 40 plus years. He started day trading futures on his days off 40 years ago. He has a great presentation full of brand new cutting edge material. Ladies and gentlemen, here to present Beta Traders Wanted, introducing Helix, is Mr. Steven Tremper of Tremper.com. Welcome back to Traders Corner, Steve.
Thanks for asking me back. Usually, in the past, I've done the discipline manager tool that we have, and I figured I'd just change it up a little bit because I've been working with Helix for years now, but I'm to the point where we got some beta testers out there, and so I've just thought if anybody's interested, we'll just throw this out there and see if anybody is want to check it out, and I'll go through some things like that. It might not be for everybody, but you might find it interesting. So I thought I'd just at least present it to you and go from there. So basically, what is the Helix? It's a manual and automatic trading strategy. It is a strategy, not an indicator. And I'll go through some of the settings because there are a lot of settings and gives you a lot of versatility and things that you're trying to do as far as your setups and how you want to manage your trade and whatnot. But that is obviously the biggest thing because there's so many settings, and so there's a lot of things to kind of understand, and it might not be for everybody if you're not into the setting part of it. I'll show you how to download it and then what's expected of you, what do you need to do. We'll go through some questions and answers. So anyway, well, who am I? Basically, I'm kind of everybody when it comes to the business end of it, but I started just trading. I've been in the fire service 30 years. I retired in 19. I started doing futures, started trading about 10, 15 years ago, but then I ended up in futures probably 6, 8 years ago after failing with options and forex and all that other stuff. So now I just do futures. It's just a better fit for me. But by no means do I want to come across as a mentor or a trading expert. I still struggle with the psychology side of things, the emotional, the FEMO and all that. And that's in the money management mainly is my big thing. And that's basically how Discipline Manager and Helix actually came to fruition because, it's me and lack of control. So, that's where it is. So, again, what is Helix? If a picture is worth 1,000 words, then I figure a 20-second video must be worth more than that. So look how clean this is. It was kind of funny how the trader chick was talking about the indicators. I did that years ago. I just ripped everything off the screen and I went to a nice clean chart, and that's and that's what I like. So anyway, this is Helix. This is I'll just show you the 20-second clip of what it does. We're at the point right now, and we're ready to test some more. There are a couple glitches from time to time that we're trying to iron out, and just last week we discovered a few more. So anyway, this is an 8-minute clip of the May 30th. This was just last week when I was working on the presentation. It was a great day. It was just 8 minutes. So the first 8 minutes we did 100. There was, you can see here, the realized P&L was $1,000 in the first 8 minutes. And so I'd be lying to you if I told you that was every day. Unfortunately, it's not. I wish it were, but it's not. So I go through there. So in any event, I will go through this disclaimer though, because we have come to realize that it's so true. I put on 2 charts, one on sim, one on live, and I trade identical things with the exception of the account, and they came out with different numbers. So sim, this rule down here, hypotheticals, simulate performance, does have different results. So I'm sure you've seen these rules before. I don't need to reiterate them too much, but they are something that you really do need to concern yourself with. So the sim and the playback will give you different results, but they're a great tool for reviewing your trade and where you want to get in, how you want to get in, manage it, tweak it, and then when you get it down, then it's just a matter of you really got to test it. So let me move forward with some settings. I'm going to go through some settings. We have two types of groups in here. We have the numerical setups, the numerical groups and the alpha groups. Now, originally what had happened is I had 2 indicators. I had my first one that I called my entry zones, and I had entry zones placed on my chart where all my rules came to be. So I didn't have to do it all in my head. I would just see the zone, and all the rules had met previously. So I knew there's the zone, and now I just need to wait to go get it. Then the next thing I did as a strategy, which was trade management. It's like I got tired of, you know, just pushing buttons and dragging things around. It's obviously, you have the ATM, but that was limited. So I had the trade management that I had pre-designed that would be able to put on my quantities and offsets and things like that, the way I want to trade and manage the trade once I got in, with additional setups. And then it's when I married the two of them together and put them both into the strategy, that's where hence Helix came into play. And so that's really it. It's just the two of them together. And now since then we've added more to it. And I always refer to that, you know, like the DNA of the trade, and really get into the analytics part of it. So if you're an analytical kind of trader, then, you know, this might be up your alley. So anyway, I just want to go through some of the settings, and you know, if you want a little bit more about, more about it, you can just go under tools and then Helix, and there's the little introduction, the 20-second video they just saw. There's a little smaller introduction, but the main one then obviously is the strategy settings overview. And this page is, it's like if you watch the full video, it's like about 2 hours long, but it's all broken down. So if you started from the beginning, you know, that's how long it would take, but most people don't do that. Sometimes they get into the trade, man, they want to understand just there. So it'll just take you to 1 hour and 5 minutes into the trade. It just zips you there. It's just like a little index. And if you want some supplementals in there, if you want to know a little bit about the more manual mode, or if you want to know about what the heck is a pivot trailing stop, there's a few minute video on that specifically that I've added in there. So this is just basically nothing more than an index for you, but it'll give you some ideas. So there's two ways of doing it, and I have, there's a handful of people already using this, and I would have to think that I would probably say 80% of the cases, most of them are doing the auto mode, because I think that's where everybody's going nowadays. And then, but there is the manual mode, because everything has to start on a manual mode and then you move forward. But basically the picture here on the left is when it's in auto mode. You just click auto. It always defaults to paused and manual mode. So you just click it to auto and unpause it. And here's the manual mode, and it's active. And there's those entry zones I was telling you about that I wanted. So that's, oh, this is the status box. So, you know, that's another little tool that's on the web page. But so getting into the DNA, if you will, as far as there's basically 5 charts in essence. There's 4 in the background, as I call synthetic higher time frame groups, and then there's your main chart of whatever that might be. Now I use the Ninja Renko because it's cleaner, it's uniform. I like it. I've been using it for years. But you could use rain charts and, you know, things like that. But it doesn't really matter. So so in this case, like now we go into group 2. All the group 2 is exclusions, and there's lots of exclusions. So you're looking at your trade and you want to attach to a higher time frame. You can do that. If you want to look at your spread, like 2.2 is a spread. You can see the distance between these two here. If you start seeing it, you know, getting too close, you know, usually 1, 2, 3 ticks or something will determine that it's, you know, starting to spread away. And when they start roping together, then that's where they kind of you kind of maybe want to stay away from that. You start getting into the choppy area. There's 4 EMAs on here that you have, obviously 1, 2, 3, 4, the bigger they are. You can orientate them and mandate that they are in a certain order. Some setups, we don't want that, because obviously if you're doing a reversal, then obviously they're always going to look like that and you'll never get a trade. So you don't want that kind of thing. But on a trend trade, typical trend trade, you know, you're looking for that uniformity. So you are going to require that the moving averages are in that order. Then we go into, you know, as I said, some of the more exclusions. You've got the VWAP in here. You've got the low of the day. There's some what I call no trade zones, and all these things right here, which are, I have to use them with the construction orange. I try to stay away from white and black, only because people that have white and black screens can't see anything if they're, you know, using that same color. So all my colors are for the most part a little different. So I've used the construction orange. So if you have an orange background, that might be a problem, but I don't think that is the case. So VWAP, I just have a no trade zone around that. I don't want to see that or trade around there because it's too sporadic. There's also one around the day and the high and the low. There is one particular setup that does not require or doesn't want to take trades going into the high of the low. Obviously, on one of my ones that I'm doing now, I have that set to 0 because I do constantly taking into the high. Some of the other things are, reversal warnings. You've got your plots. Those are really good for testing and trading, just to kind of see where things might be taking place. But once you're done with, once you kind of idea what you're doing and where you're at, those kind of come off. You don't need the dings and the dongs constantly. So the trend direction, you've got more indicators. As I mentioned, we've added some indicators, and actually I might even be adding some more indicators in here, just to get more tools. Now you could overlap indicators on the screen itself if you wanted, Bollinger Bands or something else on here, RMI, whatever the case is. You could just throw it on here like anything. But if we're going to use it as far as a setup, if it's going to be determined that a certain value of a particular instrument is going to be included in the particular setup, well, then we need it as a rule, so it has to be incorporated in here. Now we start getting into the alpha groups, and there's more to the, all the numerics are plotting, EMAs, do you want it to plot, do you not want it to plot, the colors, exclusions, things like that. All those indicator type basings are going to be the numeric group. All the alpha groups are trade management, and whether it be stop management, offsets, placements, how many targets, how many contracts, etc. So this one is the entry trigger, and this is kind of where it all starts. And it's this little line right here that if you were to say go buy on an up bar, your price has to breach that. And so that's what that is. And you can make it positive, negative, and it doesn't even have to be on this particular bar. Now, this particular bar happens to be a 21-3 chart, but I'm not using the 21-3 bar. So if I did, and I was using the 21-3 bar, well, then that entry trigger would be up here at the close of the bar. And when price breached it, boom, it would do whatever it's designed to do, whether do offsets or just market order, whatever it might be. But I have it set to what's called a synthetic group, and I don't want to wait the whole 21 bar. So I have that set for a smaller time frame internally. So when I say up bar, I don't mean the 21-3 up bar. I mean the internal one that I have set. I believe in this case it's the 5-1. So in essence, it's a 5-1 reversal bar when I'm clicking up bar, which is then right there. So it's a little faster. So positive and negative numbers could be used. So once the price breaches that in the up position, what do you want it to do? And you could put your offsets in there that an order would be placed here, or maybe you want it down here to get a little deeper. So once it's fiddling around right here, it pops the order in. Now it locks it in. It sets a limit order down here or a buy order up there. So once it goes further up, it'll take you with it. And there are some settings in there that will allow cancel if not filled right there. So if you're putting an offset in there and it never gets filled because it goes against you in the opposite way and never fills, you want to cancel that. You don't want an order hanging out there. So after so many ticks, it'll cancel out. So this is what I mean, like group A is, your quantities. Now, if you're just going to put on the same trade management but multiple contracts, well, you can just put them all in a quantity one. If you want 2 contracts, 3 contracts, etc. But if you want different trade management, so for instance, your first contract is going to come off at X ticks and your second contract is going to go off at later ticks, well, then you need different trade management. So because the first quantity is not even going to be around, but you're going to need some trade management for the second target. So, and the pivot trailing stop is another part of the trade management. There's 4, I think 5. You got the initial stop, you've got the 3 auto trails, move to break even, 2 pivot trailing stops, so 6, and there's going to be 7. They're going to be dynamic stops. So they're all independent of each other. This just happens to be the pivot trailing stop. So everybody's heard, buy high or higher highs and lower highs and lower lows and and lower highs, or whatever that is. So in any event, the point of it is let's say you were to set this for a your pivot trailing stop, you set it for 50 ticks in this example. So it's going to go up. So it's coming down. Let's say you're short, you're coming down, you're coming down, you're coming down. When it goes up a minimum of 50 ticks. Now this is 57 ticks, so you have to have a minimum. If your rules are set in this scenario, it's set for 50 ticks. So at 50 ticks, it's going to go up and it's going to retrace. Okay. Now now you need a resumption. So once you have your resumption of, let's just hypothetically say 50 ticks. So when you get an up of 50 ticks or more, and then you get 50 ticks down, which being 57 here, you're looking probably about there. It says, okay, that is your pivot. You see the kind of the V form there. It says that's your pivot, and it pops down your stop. And of course, if you have trailing stops, they're going to do their own thing anyway, but this will just pop it there. As I said, they're all independent. So now you're coming along more. Now you notice this one went up, but it didn't go up 50 ticks, so it doesn't qualify. So it comes down, it went up. Now this one went up 66 ticks. So I want to, but again, a minimum of 50. Now it has to resume 50, which would be probably, right around there. It realizes, hey, there's a pivot. It takes the stop, jumps it down here, and so on. Now this is 49 ticks. So this one's not going to qualify. Now, if you had your set for, 48 ticks, well, then that would qualify as a pivot, and then it would come down. But in this case scenario, it doesn't qualify, and then it resumes 50, and then your pivot goes there, if that were a qualifiable pivot. But in this case, it's not, so it's still up here. This now is a qualifiable pivot. It's 83 ticks. So now it's gone up there, and now it's resumed 50, and boom, it brings your stop from here to here, and that's the pivot trailing stop, and vice versa for the longs. So, and again, those are all independent of each other. It's just one of the stop mechanisms that are available. As I talked a little bit about the data series, the synthetic data series, that was that entry trigger I was talking about. In the group C, you could change your settings, and you have some options as far as what type of, and even with the EMAs, you have the option of, even though you're looking at a tick chart, or in my case, the Ninja rank, I use the Ninja rank. I'm looking at a 23 Ninja rank chart, but I want to see a 15-minute EMA on there, and I want to use that as my EMA. You can do that. You just click it to an EMA, or I'm sorry, a minute chart. You put in your 15 minutes or whatever you're looking for, and it'll show up on that particular screen, even though it's representing a synthetic data series. Group D is additional options. I guess everybody has additional options. You got your pause button. Those buttons, those manual buttons, you could kind of move those around. You've got your pause if you hit your goal. It just won't automatically trade anymore. You can manually trade, but automatically it's just going to stop after you hit your goal. Same with your drawdown. If you have a drawdown pause of whatever your dollars is, and you've gone down that far, it'll stop trading and stop taking more. You got the auto pause if there's some consecutive losses, depending on whatever size they are. You determine the size, not Ninja. A penny, a negative penny is a loss in Ninja. So, but that may not be the case. You might be in a winning trade and it goes to break even, and you get out at less commission, so you get out at a -1 cent. Well, that to me is not really a losing trade. So I have a negative number in there. And then obviously your start times for times you want the market to go on, and my defaults are 9:35 because I trade NASDAQ, so I want to get away from that morning open. And if you wanted to throw news in there, you could throw news in there. So that's pretty simple standard stuff. Group E is audibles. In a strategy, usually you just get the standard order canceled or order filled kind of thing. But I wanted the targets and the mostly I wanted the cha-ching, the auto trail, cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. So anytime it goes up or down, it'll do that for you. And then statistical data, obviously I'm analytical kind of guy, so I have a reporting system in there. It'll do the statistical data for you. You could mark your grade, anything greater than or equal to something, X ticks. We'll give you an A trade, B trade, anything less than that, I'll give you an F. It's like a report card. So, it's A, B, C, D, F, just like a report card, and it will grade. And then that way, when you look at your files and you look at your statistics later, you can say, okay, I only want to see the A trades. and what's the DNA of the 8 trades and what made that work. You know, all the rules are the same. So if you're putting on your settings and you say go and it takes a bunch of trades, they're all the same. Why are some losing and some not? Well, it's the DNA. You know, things happen. Just because you got in a trade doesn't mean it has to go to fruition. So therefore, you know, you want to find out what happened, and you can look at these and say, okay. And in addition to that, I have, you know, for people that are interested or that know about the MFE and MAE, I've even taken it one step further and did E's, threw an E on the end of it. So I have MAEE and MFEE, which just stands for extensions. So even though I'm out and Ninja stopped recording it, I want to know what the market did. And that's really how I found out many, many years ago with crude. I had my stop on there, and I started looking at the statistics, only to realize the majority of my stops are getting stopped out by just a few ticks. Well, that was simple, you know, so you could do a little bit more of an offset, or you could just make your stop a few ticks longer. And so by looking at that, because again, Ninja stops recording once you get out of the trade, but I want to know what happened after the trade. And so if I'm getting my target and I'm getting B trades, but the market is always getting A trades, it's like, well, wait a minute, maybe I could, you know, take a little bit more meat off that bone and, you know, do that. So that's all analytical things. So now here, group G is the setups. Right now we have setup 1 and 2, setup 3, setup 4, which is kind of a unique thing for external executions, and then setup 9. We jumped to that one because it was supposedly easier, but it turned out to be 6 months. But in any event, so we could add, and we have others in the background that we're going to be doing and adding in here. But you know, right now I'm really concentrated. My favorite is the 3, which I wanted to do long ago and been working on it now. And my next one that I want to do is the reversal, because I love the reversals. But needless to say is so you know, pick your setup. Now each one has its own rules, and you know, you kind of gotta see which one you want. Then you could even make your own. With your own, to a point. It's some limitations. If there's certain things that you needed to do to trigger, then that might have to be custom put in there. And if there's indicators that you require for a particular setup, then that would just be, you know, setup 5, setup 6, whatever it might be, and we could just add those parameters in there and say, okay, when all these rules and everything aligns, take the order. All the other things are done. All the trade management, that's done. The backgrounds, well, that must be a market call. So anyway, those must be, you know, logically put in there as far as when the setup is going to take. But everything else is done. You know, background color, when do you want the background color to change? All done. All the setups are done. So it's relatively easier. It's become easier to do it. But right now, that's where we're at with the, you know, the whole beta testing part of it, because we're at a point where we have, as I said, there's some people already using it, and we're starting, you know, we've had a few things that I would have never found on my own, that because I don't trade like that. And so with those scenarios, if we could duplicate it, if you could say, hey, that's that, so you pointed out to me, let me see your settings, and I get your settings and I duplicate it. Well, we can fix that. That's easy. So that's kind of where we're at right now with that. You know, as I say, this has been out for, I've been using this in the manual mode for well over a year in the manual mode, and now it's been in the auto mode for quite some time, and we're doing that now. But anyway, this is the one thing that's not in there yet. As you can say, it says coming soon to a theater near you. It's somewhat in there in the settings, but it's not working yet. And that's the chop box. You know, we've looked at the RSI, the ATR, the ABC, whatever, all these things, and it's just really needs to kind of be custom. You know, you can take a little bit of this and a little bit of that, but we really kind of customize it. And not only are you required to execute an order in the proper place, but it's more important when not to take a trade. And for anybody who's been trading for a while, you know, you end up getting the bored trade, or you know, you're sitting around and you're like, oh my God, I just want to do it, I'm just bored. So you take a trade because it's just not set up, whatever. But there are times when you don't want to take the trade. And if we could highlight those and see them, and I could see them all the time, we want to stay away from that and just wait for the break. And then eventually it will. You know, just some markets well, I don't trade ES, but ES you might wait a day. But needless to say, at least with NASDAQ, just wait a few minutes and it'll change. So, but you just don't, you can get butchered during that chop time. So we're working on that one next. That's coming. Some of the other indicators that are available that I've had made long ago. Some of the target zone I mentioned earlier about the discipline manager, status box. I think I saw a picture of that one there. There's supply and resistance line. There's volume slitter. There's more. Basically, all these indicators that over the years that I have made for myself. Remember, I'm just like you. I'm just a trader. That's it. I don't have employees. None of that. I just myself in my little trading cave, and I just go in here, and that's why we have the trade group. We got social hour, you know, because it is a lonely game. So you guys are more than welcome to join that. There's no cost in that, and you can just come in and check it out and find that you're just like-minded people that are doing the same thing that you're doing, but instead of doing it by yourself, you're able to you know, conversate with other people. Now, when it gets busy, especially in the trade room, you know, we're all busy, and a lot of times, you know, probably 80% of the time we're on mic silent. But when it's slow and you got questions, you just unmute yourself and you get to chat. And if you have technical issues, if it's appropriate, I can kind of help you out there. Social hour, I'm really trying to kind of get geared for technical issues. I try to be on there as much as possible, just for answering questions and technicals, just brainstorming, that kind of thing. So all these indicators, I was saying, all these indicators that I have made, and most of them are free. You know, target zones is a very cool one. You check the video out on that one. Status box is becoming my favorite. I really like that because I'm looking at it constantly. The support and resistance lines I have on, again, those are free too. You can download them. I have a lot of people use them. I have the ATR projections on there that was an indicator, which then turned into a strategy. So I have both. If you want to just find out where your ATRs are, you can put that on. And if you want the strategy to do it, I don't use that strategy anymore. It's years old. I haven't updated it or anything. I just, as I said, some of these, like, you know, I may at some point in time maybe incorporate that into Helix and even the support and resistance lines, because I do look at those regularly. But right now they're independent indicators, and I haven't, so I don't know if they will be incorporated or not. But you're more than welcome to go grab them if they're a tool that is something for you. And basically the biggest thing, as I said earlier, is where I started was just for me, and that was the discipline manager. It's nothing more than protecting yourself. You know, protect yourself from you, because you're your own worst enemy, you know. And everybody, like the trader was just talking to me, or talking, you know, in the presentation before me, the mentor kind of thing. So we're all in the same game together, you know, and sometimes you need somebody on the back of the shoulder to say, hey, you know what, it's not your day today, so let's you know, let's just come back tomorrow, kind of thing. So that's available. Now that one is not a free one, but that's like the #1. That's where Ninja really got me started. So getting started. So if this is something that you want to toy around with and play with and kind of see where it goes, all you got to do is download it from the Helix tab and start playing it. And it will automatically, you know, start a free trial. So there's 10-day free trial, and just start doing it. And you go, obviously I would suggest watching some videos so you kind of have an idea of what's going on. You'll get a grasp of what's happening. Nothing is needed with the free trial. You don't need to do anything. It just starts automatically. All you have to do is just go to the tools section of the web page, and then from there, just click on the Helix site. And those are all those other ones I was telling you about. If you want to go watch, I think they all have videos. There's that APR projections indicator, and then there's the strategy. But this one, Helix, you just go into there, and then there's the file. And now, with this latest business with you know, Ninja's upgrades and whatnot. So if you're using the web version, this one's not available yet. It's the same file. It's just that there's one line of code in there that identifies the two different versions. So if you're using it, you know, on a phone or on the web version where you have to log in onto the web and then it gets you into there's no license key. It's all on your dashboard, if you will. So that's that version, which I haven't exported yet. And and I will. I think their deadline's coming up soon. And this one here is the desktop version. Now, I work off a desktop, and I have been for, like I said, 15 years. So I couldn't imagine trading on a 3-inch phone, but whatever. So this is the one that's available right now, and that's the latest version is the 8028, and then this web version, the latest one is 8116. So anyway, you make sure you do the right one. If you want the NinjaTrader downloads, those are the newest files if you want to get a shortcut right to them. And then there's an older version if you, I think that'll probably be going off pretty soon. I think the deadline is June 23rd, I want to say, when there's next week, actually, this will be switching over. So I'll probably take that off shortly thereafter. So anyway, just click on one of those, it'll download your file, and then off you go to the races. After your free trial, if you want, if you like what you do and you want to keep playing around with it, and you think you want to start beta testing and see if you can come up with some issues, then all you need to do is continue, is just go ahead and join on the community tab, and you can go into right there is a subscription option, and there's a contact form that you're going to need to do on I'll need a third-party ID. It's a little different than the machine ID, but it's a unique identifier basically. So what you would do is you go into the help under control center help, and then third-party licensing. The vendor name would be Tremper, just like that, with a capital T. It has to be case sensitive. And then you put your unique ID in there. Now, I always recommend something that identifies your computer. So when you change computers or you add to different computers or whatever it is, you can differentiate what's what, other than a bunch of numbers. Like, this is how it comes out with a bunch of numbers. So it doesn't mean anything. So if you enable it, HP laptop, bedroom, home office, whatever, Commodore 64 or Tandy 1000 for your older folks, that kind of thing. But you can put anything you want in there. It doesn't really matter. You just don't want to put double machine IDs, except that one. So it'll look like that, and just go ahead and put that in the contact form. There's a spot where it'll say third-party ID. And then once we have that ID, then any other thing that you download thereafter, you've already got your ID. You don't need to do it again, and just let us know that, hey, I installed something, and let me have it. It's free, so I'll just turn it on. So what is the beta tester special? The strategy, nothing, absolutely nothing. And that's one of the things as a beta tester that I'll be asking of you, and that would be I'm trying to come up with the price point. Now I know, again, this is for me and strictly for me. It was never really designed to be out into the public. I don't have a problem with it being out there, but on the other hand, it's not what's originally intended to, because as I say, I'm just a trader. So the strategy doesn't really have a price point right now, so you could actually get it for free. But I do have a little maintenance fee on there, just to and there's reasons for that. But the point of it is that it's through PayPal, and you can stop it if you want it for a few months, play around with it, find out that not for you. You just turn it off. You just go into your PayPal account, you say and cancel subscription, and that's the end of it. No more. That's said and done, and that's really about it. So now I will say that once canceled, that the original price. So if you get in at $19.95 and this goes up, which it has already gone up, they can't get that price back again. So if you cancel, and then a month later, 2 months later, maybe I come out with the new edition, and you're like, oh, I want to get it now, that price may not be the same price, and it can't go back to that price. So that is subject to change. I have absolutely no clue where it's going. I can guarantee it's not going to be $19.95 a month. Eventually what will happen is we'll dump this whole part. I'm thinking we'll just dump this all together, and there'll be a price there. And what that is, I do not know at this point. So if you're that kind of person that can want to play around but keep in mind that there are going to be some hiccups. So it's still in beta, so we have discovered some issues. So you have to have a little patience with getting things fixed if you did discover something. And again, this is great for sim playback. Get it, especially with all the settings. I would definitely recommend sim and playback, because Otherwise, you're going to be, you know, if you're going live, things are going to happen. And I just wouldn't recommend it. You have to feel comfortable, as I suppose with any strategy or indicator, whatever. You have to feel comfortable with it and know what it means and know what it does. So anyway, so we, as I mentioned earlier, we have the trade room, we have Discord, we got Skype, just a bunch of traders, just you know, talk. If there's, it's good to know if you have any questions, like, hey, does anybody know of an indicator that does this, that, or the other? Or, hey, I can't get my, you know, Ninja's not loading correctly, whatever. There's always, it's a nice little community to have in there. It's under the community tab, all those. Now, Discord is relatively new to me. I frankly don't even know what I'm doing. Skype has been around a lot longer. We've got over 100 people in that group. And so some are just, you know, hanging out, and some are more active, obviously, as like anything. And but Skype is definitely more active. Discord, as I say, it's still kind of new, so it's not as active, but I guess it is coming with the younger generation. And then the trade room is where I like to be available just for helping other people if they have any questions. And then obviously I try to share my screens the best I can. I change things around. I'm changing, matter of fact, somebody in the room the other day talked about UB. Well, I've never traded the bonds before. So I'm like, yeah, sure, why not? So we threw it on and just watched it. And you know, so we're gonna check it out. And then the platinum was the other one. And we're like, surprisingly enough, I like platinum. You know, it's, you looked at the tick value, you looked at it, you looked at some past history on it, you talk about it a little bit, you say, well, let's check it out. So I threw it on, and now I'm just, you know, getting a little bit more statistics on it, because I got to find out. It only trades for a small period of time, but who cares? Because it's just going on in a little corner of your chart. And, you know, if it only takes one trade, then okay, so what? You know, as long as at the end of the month, you're making some money, doesn't matter. That's what the game's about. And then, of course, as I said, social hours is more for chit chat and things like that. So I don't know if anybody has any questions. I guess now would be a time. How do I go through this? Is Marina's not working. The contact form is not working. Well, that's interesting. I'll have to look into that. I'll do it right now. Contact. That's working fine for me. Don't know what to say. I will just do it right now. Anyway, if anybody has any questions, or Rob, do you have any questions?
I don't have any questions. I was actually just going to your website to click the contact button and paste it.
I just did it, and it works fine.
Because I noticed the gentleman has a typo where he you know, put that in. So there is the contact page link in the chat box if Mr. Tran would like to click on it from the chat box.
Yeah. Okay. TREMPER.com, and then the contact form is on the right side of it. Or if you're on a phone, it's a little drop-down menu or something. But yeah, I just did it, so it's working. So in any event, you know, going back to, so here's the target zones. Now there's no target on here, so you're not going to see it, but this is the target zone, this is the status box, and this one here, this one isn't available yet. This row actually is moved. We moved it up to here, but here's all your stats. You can turn any of these on or off as you please. I kind of like to see them, trade time, how long you've been in a trade, position, you know, that kind of thing. If your spouse is nearby, you can hide your financials if you don't want them to see that. You know, it tells you about unrealized, and this is more for, because everybody's getting into those prop firms now. And actually, if you go under referrals on the web page, and you go to referrals, there's a page there for discounts, discount code. And there's a lot of, every time somebody's throwing discounts out there, I'll advertise it in there, and so you can kind of, you know, see. But seeing that everybody's kind of doing those prop firms for money, you really got to know the rules. And this is your account peak, and this is how much you got to play with. And that's not going to go up until you hit your goal. So even though your account peak might go up to, you know, 51,000 or whatever, this is still going to be 25, because you can't go past until you get up to a certain level of whatever it is. And I have it defaulted to that, but you can change it. once it's finalized. And then, but when it goes down, when you lose a trade, then you see this starting to go down until you go down and down, 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 down until you bust your account. So it gives you an idea of where you are, real time, face, right in your face kind of thing. You can see Helix is timed off right now. Oh, actually, if I played it again, it'll go back on again. So anyway, these are the charts, and this is, look how clean it is. I had really kind of chuckled when Trader Chick said about, getting rid of the indicators, because it was just me. It's exactly what I did. Is I got rid of all my indicators. So this is it. This is that little 20-second thing again. I wish I could do this every day, but I just figured if I'm going to make a video, let's do it on the last week, because it was beautiful. So you can see, like, at 8 minutes, it's 9:43 right there, 9:43, and it goes on at 9:35. That's my timer set. You can change it, of course, but I have it set. And these are the entry zones, things like that. These are touches, and this is just particular. This happens to be setup 3 that I'm working on, and that's what I'm using. But I'm not even showing. There's a setup 9. That's different procedure. It doesn't take as many trades, and setup 1 and 2. And so anyway, that's really about it. So that's all I got. So I think I'm actually on time, so I probably can. What time does Helix?
Steve, you're very on time. You have a couple more questions about how many PCs can someone install it on, like a licensing issue. And you have a video tutorial about how to install it and whatnot.
Yeah, I see it right there. How many PCs can you install? I just have it one. Well, you can install as many as you want, but it's one subscription per third-party ID, license ID. There's reasons for that, but I don't have time for that. Do you have a tutorial? Yes. I would, I would start with going back to the Helix page itself and going to, if I could do this really quickly here. Let's do this here, if I could do it fast enough here. So go Tools, Helix, and then all down in the videos. There's a 20-second video you just saw. There's a little introduction, which maybe 5-minute video. And this one here is that index. So if you watch the full video, plan on 2 hours. But if you're interested in just seeing, hey, what is what is the higher time frame? You just click on that. It'll just go right to that spot. Or if you want to know what the pivot trailing stop is, this is like a 5-minute video specifically designed for that. It's a little supplement. And I'll add to this as time goes on. But that's what that is. And then are you working on a scalping? Well, scalping, I've really never been a scalping kind of guy, only because I don't like just taking 2 ticks and then seeing the thing go to 100. It kind of feel that I lost out. A lot of time I don't even have a target. I don't use targets. My stop is my target. So I'll just who are you to say where it's going to stop at? Nobody knows. So, I get to find the risk very easily. I can just put my stop there, and that's the risk. But how can you really tell where it's going to go? So, sorry, in any event, it can be done. Just put your target at, 2 ticks or whatever, and do it all day long, I suppose. You just change your settings, and that's easy to do. But yeah, it's all doable, and it works on all that. Yeah, I've tried 60. I've done 60. You've only got so much screen space, so. Yeah, ES I don't do because it's like watching molasses drip out of a jar. I don't like that. I like ADD on steroids, and that's NASDAQ, because the things move. So hopefully those answer your questions, and respecting time, I'll turn it over to you, Rob.
Hey, appreciate you, Steve. Just a heads up, I sent you my personal email address in the admin chat. There's a couple of questions I have that are unrelated, but okay. Thank you for being here. The Helix sounds great. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Mr. Steven Tremper of Tremper.com. He has a great new piece of software, and he is a great programmer. The new software is called the Helix. If you're interested in becoming a beta trader, you can learn more by clicking the link below that I put in the chat box when we had that contact issue. His tools have been a game changer for so many traders struggling with overtrading, the emotional issues, things that traders commonly face. Thanks again for being here, Steve, and making such a generous offer to our audience today. I hope you have a great weekend, and if applicable, a happy Father's Day.
Thanks.
Be well.